Okay, to continue where we left off with the last video, sort of continuing, I had the idea at the end that maybe we should show a little bit more damage to our characters when they run into something, and that kind of spiraled into me just tinkering around a little bit with making some bounciness off of the walls, and it took a little bit more work than I thought, so we're going to actually just do this in an entire video. One of the things that we need to address is that when we do stop all of our players, here we are in the level class, from a collision, we immediately stop them, and that interferes just a little bit with what I'm going to write next. So I'm going to modify this, and I'm going to pass in here an SK node, and this will be our damaged node. And then what we'll do is write a little bit of an if statement here that says if character equals the damaged node, we're going to do something slightly different. Otherwise, if not, then you can't. Whatever other players are following that didn't get damaged, they can just stop moving on their own. And in this case, what we're going to do is cut back over here to our header file, and we'll say stop moving from wall hit. Kind of maybe a little narrow thinking in terms of the method name there, because you might want to run this for the character running into other things, but that's, at least it's descriptive for now, I suppose. All right, and then when we call this method, and we only call it one place right now, we're going to want to, of course, pass in that, we're going to want to pass in that, that damaged node. So here it is, and did begin contact. So currently we have character do damage with amount, and then we're going to say self stop all players from collision. And if we're, yeah, of course, we just put in the character there. Do that over there as well. And now that I'm just kind of looking at this, it does make a bit more sense for me to reverse these two. So we'll stop all players from collision, pass in the characters, stop all players, character, and then do damage with amount. And come back over here to our character class. Let's find our stop moving method from before. Oh, well, just copy this name right here, and I forgot to delete this out from my test project, so it's already written in here. But really the only difference is we're saying in this first one it was stop moving, and the current direction is going to equal no direction, and removing all the actions. Stop moving from wall hit, we just don't set the, we don't unset the direction here. Okay, so we're just going to leave the direction in, and that way I'll be able to test left, right, up or down to see which way we're going to basically bounce the character back off of the wall. Okay, so let's come down now to our damage method, and we only have one damage method right now. We're about to have 3 of them. Okay, and let's go ahead and set these up. First thing we're going to do is have a void and damage actions. And then the next one is going to be void damage done. Okay, and now what we'll do is take out our test to see if the current health is all the way down at 0. We're going to move that over to damage done, all right, because that'll be the last thing that we check out. And I'm also going to put in a little bit of a safety net here that I thought was kind of helpful. And you know, if everything was coded up perfectly here, this would never come into play. But I'm going to say that if current health is ever less than 0, we're going to make it equal 0 here. And then I'm just going to rerun this line right here. So let's just put a little note that says just to prevent the green health bar from reversing back behind the, or let's say from being inverted, makes a little bit more sense. In which case it would just flip around to the other side and start kind of ticking back the other way. That's what would happen if current health was a negative number. Okay, so now we're still passing in our damage amount here, and then at the bottom of this we're gonna say self perform selector at selector damage actions with object nil after delay, and this delay is going to be put in here at just almost a frame's worth. All right, it's not much of a delay at all, but it should prevent. Well, basically, what will happen is when stop moving from wall hit occurs, we're going to remove all these actions out that were currently on the character, and then like 0.05 seconds later, we're going to put in a whole slew of other actions. So this isn't going to be noticeable to the user, but code-wise, it's just kind of an important little delay in there. All right, so the next thing we'll do is set up the push action, or what will be used to push the character back a little bit. So I'm going to write up here sk action push, and I'm going to close that off, and then just say and then fill in the rest of it based on the direction. So we're going to say if current direction equals left, in that case push is going to equal sk action move by x, and I'm going to throw in 100 right here. So if you're moving to the left, you're going to go 100 forward the other direction, because left you'd be going a negative amount. And then for the y, we're just going to leave that alone. The duration, I'm going to make these be pretty quick, 0.2. And then let's just go ahead and put in an else statement for the rest of these. So if you're going right, going up, or down, this is going to be negative 100. If you're going up or down, the x we're going to leave alone, and then that'll be negative 100 for the y, and positive 100 for the y, and again leave the x alone. And then we can come down here and write self run action push, and then I'm just going to put in another perform selector here. And in fact, we could make this part of a sequence, I suppose, but I'll just run damage done after 0.2. You could maybe even put in 0.21 if you wanted. I think it's fine to just leave it as is. So that will then call this. So basically we're just kind of trickling down here. This goes to this, that goes to that, and finally the last thing is that we check the current health is actually below 0. Then in which case we can remove the parent. We could also light them on fire or something like that at that point too, with a particle effect. So let's just see where we're at. Kind of gotten stuck in the retina display simulator, haven't I? Doink. So he moves back, and I've obviously forgotten one thing to put in here, which is that when we do get done with the damage, we need to call self stop moving, and that's going to set that direction back to being nothing. I guess alternatively I could put in here current direction equals no direction, come to think of it, and that way you don't just keep ramming up against the wall. So doink, and he's back again, doink. Now what's kind of fun is if you have a little bit of a character chain here, they all kind of stop and then watch you just embarrass yourself. Let's see, you can kind of push them back too when you get sent back a little bit. Just keep in mind that when this is going on, we're also still running our update statement that is pushing back in the other direction. So this isn't really a true 100 points back because, again, we're still pushing left with the update statement, but this is enough to kind of counterbalance that force forward or in that current direction. So now what we could do is we could pulse the character red, and let's give that a shot. Let's write this between these statements, and we'll just say SK action pulse red is going to equal, and we haven't actually set up any actions in a sequence like this, so check it out. We actually did it in the intro to Sprite Kit course, but not this tutorial. Go ahead and just kind of leave things hanging from here, right? Put a few lines down and go ahead and close this one off too. And now what you've got is this big open space to kind of write in your own just actions on the fly. You're not going to make instance variables for them. So you can come down here and just write SK action colorize with color, and we're going to put in here SK color. This will be red color. Color blend factor is going to be 1.0 or 100%, and then the duration, just make that 0.2. Then you just put a comma after it instead of a semicolon, and then you put SK action colorize with let's see, I want it to fill in here. Colorize. Oh, well, that's part of the problem. Alright, hit escape, colorize with color blend factor, and that's just going to take that previous blend factor down to 0.0, and then we are going to just do 0.2 again for the time. So this will just be a really quick flash of red and then back again. And of course, as usual, you do have to put in here character dot or run action pulse red. And note that I'm not applying the this red effect to the entire node. In fact, I don't even think I could do that if I try to put in self here. I don't think you can do a colorize on that, but you can on a sprite node. So we've got the putting the character in here, and I'd rather leave the health meter untouched with that red amount anyway. So let's see, I think we're ready to go. And of course, do note as well that this push action was put onto the entire node self, because we're always affecting the entire position of this node anytime we do any sort of locational things. I wouldn't want to have the character at a different value than 0, 0. Doink, and there we go. And you're dead. And I suppose we ought to go the extra mile with some sort of particle effect when you do die off. So go over here to File, and New File again. This will be a Sprite Kit particle file, and what do you think is going to look good here? Probably fire, right? Click on Next, and we'll just call this, how about Death Fire? That's a cool name. Since we'll use this, there we go, I like it. As is, it's perfect. Okay, well, let's see what we could do here to lifetime. Well, let's just we'll just throw it in and see how long it lasts in there. So we've got to go dig out our emitter code that we already had in here, and where would that be at? Add emitter, there it is. And you know, since well, we'll just create another bit of code for this. We'll just call this death emitter. And I'll take out the particles to emit. For the path for resource, just get rid of this. We'll call this Death Fire. So there's the name of it. And that might actually be all we need to do. So we'll just call that. just put it right down here. Okay, let's take a look. I'm curious to see how long the effect lasts. We'll probably have to put some code in here to change the time that it burns. Oh, well, yeah, it's just going to sit there burning. All right, look at all those nodes piling up. Crazy. All right, we only want to do that, I forgot, inside of here. Okay, so that makes sense. And then emitter. Oh, come to think of it, I should have left that in there. Number of particles to emit. Oh, let's just try it with something like 200. And golly, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, each one of these particles is considered a node, isn't it? So this and this are going to have a problem together. Well, let's remove every other child, right? Then we'll call our death emitter. And because we're also removing the entire self after that, we're going to have to delay that some. So let's put in here self perform selector. There's a lot of things weird about this now, but remove from parent. All right, so that's already declared. It's part of the class itself with object equals nil. After delay, let's just make it a 1.0 second delay. And I think that ought to do it. Because remember, our level class really depends on the character being removed to figure out when it's time to add a secondary leader. So all right, bump it again, boom, you flame up and you're gone. All right, so we could probably spend a little bit more time seeing the flames. Let's see what happens if we go over here with another character. All right. Oh, you just watch him burn, don't you? Real cool, dude. Let's see. We saw a little bit of a kind of a jumping around of the. Oh, well, that was because the leader got swapped out, wasn't it? All right, so again, doink, and then he comes in. All right, so that actually does work. We could probably quicken this up a little bit. And then I'm thinking too that the position of this, let's make the emitter dot position equals CG point make and the X is fine. Let's put the Y value at character, and this will be a negative. So negative character dot frame dot size dot height divided by 2. So if we make all that a negative number, let's just put these in parentheses. Then it'll make the starting point of the emitter at the bottom of the character, which should look a little bit better. It does look like he's just kind of flaming up in the middle of nowhere. So hopefully it'll appear at his feet now. And one more time, bam, yeah, something like that. It could maybe even go up like plus a few pixels too. Let's try 10. Of course, this might not look great for every character size, but I think probably for most of them it should. And boom. So there you go. Okay, since I had a little time to play around with this, the video pause, a couple things you'd probably want to do here is set the physics body to being no at that point, or it being dynamic, so it's excluded from whether the physics body is moved by the physics simulation, right? So it basically gets ignored there. But they also then put the physics body equaling nil, so it will. Physics body is associated with the node, the default value is okay. So again, this is also making it not participate in the simulation, and that works a little bit better because I did notice a little bit of a stutter again with the with the flame, and that's because one of the other bodies kind of pushed it forward a little bit. So its body was still in there, and that should help stop that. Finally, one last other thing to consider would be going over here to your character class, your header file, and then just writing in here a variable that is called isDying. Now, of course, that equals no, because you're not dying right from birth. But, well, I guess you kind of are. But then over here, we'll say isDying equals yes. So you're in the process of dying. And at that point, what we could do is come over here to the CS level in our update method, where we go over here and say that we've found a leader. We might want to also put in an if statement that just says if leader dot isDying equals to yes, or I should say equals no. Then in that case we have found a viable leader. But if that was set to yes at the time, then we would just ignore finding a leader. And the convenient thing about that is if we were to then die off, another leader would take the place while you're flaming out, essentially. So let's go over here and try that out. Come up here, grab this guy, I'll run into the wall. Hey, look, I'm back to the iPad. And I'm not even positive that worked. Let me try it one more time just to make sure. I think it worked, but I'm not entirely sure. All right, so boom. Okay, yeah, it did work, and he did become the leader right away there. So let's go and do this. Put in one more. I think he kept moving was part of the issue. Come down here to wherever we make him the leader, and we'll just say current direction equals no direction, and then let's see what happens. All right, boom and boom. Okay, so he does. We saw the jump because he just became the leader, but that flame did stay in place, and he didn't go walking into the wall after that. So that's a good sign. Let's see what happens over here. So boom, run to the wall, bang. That stays right where it is, and I think we're good to go. All right, we'll, I don't know, settle all debts in the next video, I suppose.